Hello everyone, Nady here, and today I will be presenting my social justice project. So, for my topic, I decided to focus on body image issues in both teen boys and girls. Now, the reason why I chose this topic would be because of the fact that it's still an ongoing issue to this day. Importantly, social media tends to be like a very huge influence on them, which is not good because sometimes, let's just say they go on Instagram or any other form of social media, and where obviously you can tell that most of the time the models are actually edited or photoshopped to look like they're pretty or the ideal body, but because they're so innocent, they tend to believe that that's what they look like and they want to look like that. Because of that, that's when they start to feel like, oh, if I do the same thing and make myself pretty like that, they're gonna all like me just like that. But really, they're perfect just the way they are. And even though sadly sometimes there are cases in where sometimes they will have family that also pressures them into making themselves look pretty, and that's why sometimes they will also engage in behaviors like, eating disorders that start to occur, or excessively doing exercise, which is not really good because they will come to a point in where they could pass out and, cause a negative effect in their health. And most importantly, if I were to do a study, mine would focus on both teen girls and boys. And reason why I included boys in this case is because they're not really usually mentioned a lot in studies where they also mention about them having body image issues. There have been a few studies and where they have had included boys in it, and like the one study by Grossbard, Lee, Neighbors, and Larimer, sorry if I butchered that name, they did do an experiment or study in which actually involved college boys in it. Now, of course, like I just said, this actually involved more in college students. So in that one, they did focus with having the inclusion of boys in it. And from their study, they did show that boys actually tend to have more of like pressure about wanting to look muscular and wanting to look more manly, whereas for girls, they would want to feel better about how they look like, or in other words, they have more dissatisfaction of how their body weight or their body image looks like. For my study, it would involve like a questionnaire and where they will answer questions based on the topic of body image. Some questions would include like asking them for their age, what grade they are, their ethnicity, and their race and gender. Why I want to include their cultural background is because I want to also see if culture has anything to do with it as well. And I would probably include the question if like they're in sports or they participate in sports, because sometimes there are cases in where sports athletes are the ones that tend to also encounter problems with body image issues. And one of my hypotheses that I have about this study would be that, just like how I saw in that one previous study that I looked at, I would probably guess that girls would be more dissatisfied with their body image and their weight compared to boys being more dissatisfied about also how they look like, but more like they would give more importance to the fact that they want to look muscular. Like muscularity is probably one of the main things they'll be more concerned about in terms of body image. So in order to get these participants for the study, I would basically put like flyers or maybe make an announcement, ask if anybody's willing to participate in the study, and of course offer them extra credit in order to, get them a little more interested in wanting to participate in it. And they could probably like take it during their lunch break or their study hall. That way they'll have time to like work on it. Although, of course, there could be a possibility some will not have time to do it because they will probably be busy or they have to get homework done. So, of course, it'll be held for 3 days. So, we can at least have like enough like students to participate in the study. Other than the fact about like probably not having enough students to participate in it, there could be a possibility there'll probably be more like an unequal number of like either boy or girls participating in the study. Anyways, the reason why I would want to conduct a study is because it's very important. And why I would say this is because, I mean, like I had said before, it's still an ongoing issue to this day. And even though it has been addressed many times, I mean, usually it's more addressed towards like younger students or usually like much older people. Like usually by the time they're like already like in college or like already like adults. And usually we tend to forget in some cases that also teens are included in this, usually when they're like at the peak of puberty, like in middle school or in high school. And also this study would point out that boys also encounter body image issues, so this can actually help like have more information on boys also experiencing this. Now I was able to come up with two practical steps in which can help address this issue, and one of them could be that parents of course have to start from their homes, reassure their child that they look perfect just the way they are, and understand that those models that are portrayed in the media are usually not really real people majority of the time. They're just photoshopped and they really are not the ideal body that people should be looking like. And parents should also make sure that their children are eating properly, they're not skipping a meal. And of course, and if they encounter that their child is doing it, please like let them know, look, I understand you feel like you don't look satisfied with how you look like, but you look perfect just the way you are. And if they really want to exercise, then okay, they can exercise, but also make sure they're not excessively exercising as well. Because, you know, we also have to make sure they're not going to go to a point that it's going to go to the extreme. Another practical step that can also help address this issue would be gaining more attention about it by getting involved in movements to help talk about how to get rid of like the use of Photoshop in magazines and ads and social media that usually target towards teen boys and girls. Some possible obstacles to these practical steps could be that there could be parents that really wouldn't care much about the idea, and sadly they will still pressure their children to, you know, look better. And of course there's some good parents that will like actually care about it, but sometimes there will be parents that really won't care about it much. So of course that's when we need to get school involved as well to help out with these students to know that, you know, they're perfect just the way they are. And another obstacle could be that, of course, companies really don't care much about like people's voices sometimes, and they just care about more about the money. So obviously it's going to be really tough for the whole situation about photoshopping and stuff to stop, because of course they want to make their advertisements still look appealing to audiences, even though these are going to be one of the main obstacles that will occur. I mean, we have to do what we can to help out these teen boys and girls learn about how to be satisfied with their body image and know that they're perfect just the way they are, you know. They're unique and they're very special. And what matters most about them is the inside, not the outside. The study connects to what we learned in this course would be about gender and social media. And I remember back when we had to watch like the videos, like it really disturbed me about the fact that, like, you know, media portrays girls, women in a way that's just very dumb and stupid. And also the fact that, like, I never really noticed the fact that men also tend to be portrayed in a way that's not even true as well. And I really never thought about the fact that men also face body image issues because of that reason as well. And since in my study also mentioned about boys being included in this study, this would also go along with the one lesson that we learned about the topic about masculinity and how, you know, there are cases of toxic masculinity, and such as like this one, for example, and where they do usually tend to be pressured into like, oh, how like a man should look like, and of course that's where they have the case of having body image issues. So with these two lessons that we learned in class, I was able to tie those into this study that I would conduct if I had the chance to. So yeah, this is what my study would look like, and of course why I chose the topic of body image issues and how this actually ties in with what we learned in class this semester. Thank you for listening.